Hey guys, it's Tammy. Welcome back to my channel. I'm looking a little rough today. I am actually getting ready to head to bed. I've been sick for the past, today and yesterday. It is actually a MCU recap for Iron Man 3. But before I get started, let's clean house. Make sure you like the video, share the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, you can hit the bell and be notified whenever I upload a new video, which I hope that you take the time to do. Let's get started. The movie, of course, starts out basically with Tony Stark. He's talking. They show the Iron Man suits all blowing up. And then it goes to, the Marvel intro with the comic book. And then it comes up with like a backdrop of a building. And then it says 1999, Bern, Switzerland. And they show Tony speaking to the man that helped him with the Iron Man suit from Iron Man 1, his original suit. And then some strange guy, runs up to Tony. He's talking to him. He's telling him about the AIM project or something like that. And Tony's getting into the elevator with Happy and a bunch of women. Of course, it's Tony Stark. And he basically kicks the guy out of the elevator. And then it's, I think it was New Year's Eve and or Christmas, I can't remember, but the guy is kind of like by himself and he's watching fireworks and stuff. So fast forward, they're showing like a terrorist on the TV. He breaks into all the news stations. He calls himself Mandarin and he talks about, what the United States did to the Native Americans and how they, killed off all of their people while the chiefs were like out. And so it's basically setting us up for, and Tony is talking to Rhodey about the terrorists, and Rhodey's telling them, they're at a bar, and Rhodey's telling them basically, he can't give them any information. And then this kid comes up to him, and the kid's asking him to sign his autograph on a picture and all this other stuff. And Tony starts having a panic attack. So he like runs out of the building. His Iron Man suit comes and gathers on him. And he's wondering, if he's having a heart attack, if he's having a stroke, if something's going on with his brain. And the suit is telling him, no, you just had a severe, panic attack. And then he flies away. And then they go to Pepper meeting with this guy. His name is Aldrich Killian. And apparently she dated him before. And I could tell from when he started talking, he was actually the guy that they met in the elevator. But like she goes into the office with him. Happy tries to go in because he's protecting her. And then Happy realizes who he is, so he calls Tony. He's telling him, he's showing her his big brain, and she looks like she's enjoying it, and you need to get down here. And meanwhile, there's this guy, he's in the lobby. He looks suspicious, and I'm going to follow him and all this other stuff. So Aldrich is telling Pepper about how you can manipulate the brain and all this stuff. And she says that it sounds like a great idea, except it sounds like it can be weaponized. And she turns him down. And he leaves out. He gets in a car. Happy, of course, takes a picture of the license plate. And he sees that guy that was in the lobby. He's driving the car. So then Aldrich speaks to this other guy. He eventually blows up. He turns red from the inside and he like kind of blows up. And basically Happy is like thrown to the ground, but he basically like disintegrates all of these people, and they're like their imprints are on the walls and stuff. So Happy has to go to the hospital. He's like in bad shape, and then Tony basically, while Happy is in the hospital, he comes out and these reporters want a message from him, and he basically issues a threat to the Mandarin, because he's pissed off that Happy's in the hospital, and gives them his address, which is absolutely ridiculous. By the way, when he's in Switzerland, one of the girls that's with him is actually, she's a scientist or a botanist. So she's like telling him about this stuff, and he doesn't want to hear her either. So he basically just wants to have sex, but it's Tony Stark, so you know. But anyway, going back to where I am, come to his home, they attack his home. Pepper, there's the girl that was the botanist, she pops up at the house, and basically Pepper saves her, and then they like blow the house off of the side of the mountain, and Tony is in his suit, and he goes down with the house, and he's getting choked out by like a piece of metal, and he can't get it from around his neck, and basically Jarvis tells him to let go, and he lets go of his hand. The hand pops off, grabs Tony's actual hand, and pulls him up from the water, and then basically it pulls him out of the water. So Jarvis saved him, his suit, and Jarvis saved him. But he takes him to Tennessee, and he lands like in the snow, and Tony's like, why did you bring me here? And he's like, well, that was the flight plan that you asked me to get together for you, was to go to Rose Hill, Tennessee. And Tony wanted to go there to research another army guy, like the one that Aldrich was talking to that blew up. Apparently this guy, they said he bombed his area, and this area in Tennessee, and Tony wanted to research it. So that's where Jarvis took him. So Tony, gathers up his suit. He's dragging it along. He finds a shed. He goes into the shed, and this kid, basically Harley, he comes in, and Tony meets him and stuff, and he's telling him the different things that he needs so that he can basically get his suit back together. And then he's asking the kid about, he gives the kid this little tool thing that's supposed to be like, it's almost like a flash grenade, and it kind of flashes in your face. He's asking the kid about the guy that blew himself up, or blew up the people with the bomb or whatever. And he's like, when is a bomb not a bomb? And he couldn't answer his own question. So he goes to the bar, and he meets the guy's mother, the army guy's mother. She's like, oh, you're not the guy who I was supposed to be. You're not the people who I was supposed to be meeting. And actually before that, as Tony's going into the bar, this lady drops her wallet, and he gives it to her, and he sees her face, and it's kind of burned on the one side, and Tony tells her that haircut suits her, and she smiles, and she kind of walks away. Well, he goes into the bar, he meets the mom of the army guy, and she gives him the files, because she's like, oh, you really believe that my son didn't, blow anyone up? And he's like, no, I believe it's something more. And then these people come in, and it's actually the guy that was driving Aldrich, Killian Aldrich, Aldrich Killian, and the lady that Tony bumped into. So they start a fight. They're like heating people up, blowing them up, and doing all this other crazy stuff. Tony throws the files underneath an area, and he basically gets into this fight. They didn't capture him, because the kid actually, they did kind of capture Tony, but then the kid like set off that that thing, and so Tony kind of got loose. The kid got loose, and he basically dropped a water tower on Tony because he heated up the bottom, because that guy has the whatever, the extremist experiment or whatever inside of him. So he heats up the bottom of the water tower, and it falls on Tony. And then Tony, I think Tony popped him with a part of his suit. Oh yeah, he had it, the hand part in his hand, and he like popped the guy. I guess he thought he killed him, but he didn't, of course, because it wouldn't be a Marvel movie if he did. And then Tony goes back to the bar. He gets all the information. Meanwhile, the Mandarin has caught the Roxxon. We know about Roxxon. He caught the Roxxon CEO and threatened to kill him on television if the president doesn't call him in the next 30 seconds. So, you know, everyone around the president is saying, you know, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And the president's like, well, I got a call because, you know, the guy is his friend. And he calls, and the Mandarin shoots him anyway. And then he hangs up on him. So he's like, oh my gosh, get, you know, what did they rename War Machine? I can't remember, but basically getting Rhodey to come and protect him and take care of it. Well, basically, Tony Stark is trying to figure out where the Mandarin is. He left the kid with like a bunch of like computery stuff, and so that he can track him. And the kid has Jarvis, and they track the Mandarin to Miami. So Tony is like, okay, are you sure? And they're like, yeah. So Tony goes to Miami looking for him. He finds the Mandarin, who is actually an actor, which Tony was super pissed off. So, but it's an actor, and he's working for Killian Aldrich, or Aldrich Killian, and he tells Tony that, and then the driver knocks Tony out, the guy that has the extremist stuff inside of him. So, the extremist guy gets, or the driver is what I call him, he gets a hold of War Machine. He compromises Air Force One. He blows up the plane, and like he basically, when he blew out a side of it, he blew out a bunch of people that were like some of the women working on the plane, the stewardess, and like different people. So Tony saves the 13 people by basically going after them, and his Jarvis told him he could only save 4. He could only carry 4. So he basically grabbed one person and told them, you need to grab this next person that I'm going to fly by. You need to grab them by their leg, their hand, whatever. So that's how he saved them, and then he kind of dumped them off in the water. And then before he did that though, while he was on the plane, he basically blew a hole through the guy. So it's like, okay, now he's dead. He's dead for real now. So, meanwhile, Pepper, they've captured Pepper because the girl that Tony had slept with, that was basically there to tell them about what was going on and warn Tony, she actually captured Pepper because Pepper saved her, and they were trying to, run, and she told Killian where she was. So, or Aldrich. So they're pumping the extremist serum inside of her at that same time, and the president is brought to where they are, which is on like a big ship, and he's brought there in the War Machine armor. Like this whole fight, because Tony figures out where they are, and then Rhodey is there too, because that's how they got the armor. They captured Rhodey and then basically burned him out of the suit. So Rhodey and Tony are looking because they've sent these extremist um, army people after them, and Tony's like, "Oh, just wait for it," and then he tells Jarvis to send the house party, which is a bunch of different Iron Man suits. So the Iron Man suits come, and then he basically tells them to basically kill anyone with the extremist heat signature. So they start like knocking people off the ship and doing all this other stuff. A huge fight. Tony tries to catch because the guy Aldrich, he like they fight a little bit and then something's blown up and Pepper gets thrown off to the edge of the ship, and Tony is telling her he's going to save her, he's going to catch her. He's like, I can't stretch anymore, but you need to stretch and let go and I will catch you. And she falls into this like fiery pit, and now Tony's pissed, obviously. It's the love of his life. He's pissed. And then he gets into a fight with Aldrich. And he basically blows him up. Like, he attaches the Mark 42, which is one of the costumes or one of the armor, and he attaches it to Aldrich and like basically tells him to blow itself up. And that's what it does. But he comes back to life, and then Pepper suddenly shows up and like knocks him out, and then she's basically fighting him, and then the one of the Iron Man suits is coming to kill her, and Tony's trying to talk to Jarvis, and he realizes his earpiece is like laying like feet away from him. So she basically jumps up in the air, punches a hole in it, rips it open, and then grabs the arm and like blows Aldrich into smithereens. And she's asking Tony if she's going to be okay. He's telling her he's going to fix it, and then he basically tells he tells Jarvis to do the clean slate project, which is blowing up all of the Iron Man suits. So that's basically what he does. And then they show Tony going to the hospital because he fixed whatever. He found a way to get the extremist stuff out of Pepper. So he gets the shrapnel out of him. And then they show Happy wake up, and his favorite show, Downton Abbey, is on, and he's kind of watching it with the nurse. And basically Tony is saying, that, it doesn't change anything. He's still an Iron Man, but you could take away his house, you can take away his toys, blah, blah, blah. So, and then they show him driving away, and he has his assistant tagged along on the back. So he's driving away, and they're going to live happily ever after, we hope. So, of course, the credits roll, and then the after scene, or after movie credit scene, is basically Tony is on the sofa. He's telling someone the story about what went on and all of this other stuff. And then they pan around, and it's Bruce Banner, and he's asleep. So he hasn't even listened to him. So that's where we get a little taste of him and Bruce and what they've been doing since New York. So, and he's trying to tell him this stuff so that he won't have like PTSD and anxiety attacks and stuff. And Bruce doesn't care. Bruce tells him, I'm not that kind of doctor. So, but that is my recap of Iron Man 3. Short and sweet for you. Stay tuned. I believe my next one is a one-shot. And I think it's called All Hail the King, which would be the Thor movie. I believe this one is. or maybe it's a different one. I have to check and see. But my next one is a one shot, a Marvel's one shot. So that one will be short as well. And then I believe I go right into S.H.I.E.L.D., which should be fun. So it's the first 7 episodes. So like I said, I'm going to get these done before the end of the year. If, you know, if it's the last thing I do. Also, I want to say, because someone mentioned it to me before. Now, before I say this, let me just say, make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel, comment, do all that great stuff, and get me to 100 subscribers before December 31st. That's what I'm shooting for. So, before we go, I would like to just take a moment of silence for the creator of all things Marvel that has given us this great world of belief that we too can be superheroes, and that is Stan Lee. He passed away a little while ago, and someone did mention that I did not take a moment of silence, and the reason really is because some of those videos were already shot before he passed. So, moment of silence for Stan Lee. Thanks, you guys. Till next time.